Did ancient Greeks deliberately build temples on earthquake faults? Well, we know one of the very famous temples, the Temple of Delphi, where the Oracle of Delphi was, Pythia, was definitely built on a fault. And there were also volcanic gases coming out from under her whenever she was trying to prophesy. Archaeologists and other scientists have long known that intoxicating gases emanating from water flowing from deep within the earth likely produced the visions of the Oracle of Delphi, a seer who guided ancient Greeks with her prophecies from around 800 BC through the 4th century AD, from her temple on Mount Parnassus, which is about an hour and a half north car drive from Athens. Now new research suggests many other Greek sacred sites were built on similar fissures created by earthquakes throughout the eastern Mediterranean. The ancient Greeks placed great value on hot springs unlocked by earthquakes, said Ian Stewart, professor of geoscience communication and director of the Sustainable Earth Institute in Plymouth, Britain. He said, but perhaps the building of temples and cities close to these sites was more systematic than has previously been thought. In a study published recently by the Proceedings of the Geologist Association, Stewart showed how temples and other structures at Mycene, that's around Sparta, Ephesus, Cnidus, and Hierapolis, were, like Delphi, built and rebuilt over earthquake faults. In Cnidus, an ancient ruined city in what is now southwestern coastal Turkey, for example, locals erected a temple in the same place over a fault in hindsight, even after earthquakes wrecked it. Stewart said, "You think that's bad luck, isn't it?" He described when he first reached his findings after reviewing his data. Then it dawns on you, he said, these people were not stupid. There was this grand drawing that there was a probably something deliberate going on here. The pattern repeats in other cities, reflecting how Greeks viewed the underworld as a destination for the soul after death and a source of mystical power and knowledge. Stewart said, "We don't have a culture that looks down, we have a culture that looks up to the stars." Conversely, in his paper, Stewart speculates that seismic activity could have cut off hot springs that had justified the oracle at Perahora Iren, the sanctuary founded in honor of the goddess Hera, 9th century BC near Corinth, but then fell into disuse in 300 BC, potentially after earthquakes. I guess because the volcanic gases weren't coming out anymore. Now, Greeks also, of course, did not live in cities with skyscrapers. And as we said before, I explained to you, a Greek city could not have more than 2,000 residents because they believed that everybody should know each other and care about each other like a big extended family. So whenever they hit the 2,000 residents mark, they would start another city somewhere else. So Greeks also, of course, did not live in cities with skyscrapers and millions of residents either, he said. Earthquakes would have been viewed more as mystical occurrences and not natural disasters caused by the movement of tectonic plates. Historical and geological records show that earthquakes were frequent at the height of ancient Greek civilization, he said. He said it's hard for people today to separate the modern take that earthquakes are dangerous, Stewart said. He said we kind of know too much. We know what they can do in ancient times. They would have seen them very differently. In the course of 30 seconds, the ground would open up and then everything would go back to normal. Stewart added that archaeologists might also look at sacred sites in South America, Middle East, and Asia to see whether earthquake fault lines played a role in their construction. Well, we know that the Giza pyramids of Egypt were on the Nile River, and we know that every single river is a fault, okay? And most cities ancient cities, have been found established along rivers. So yes, that's where they would have had their temples and their religious gatherings, and obviously they would have been near faults because they were near rivers. Now, Stewart admitted he was not an archaeologist. More work needed to be done to fully explore his thesis, he said, adding that he published his paper as a provocation for other qualified researchers to take up the topic. He said, "I do recognize that when geologists lumber into archaeological territory, They make mistakes. I'm quite happy with archaeologists taking us to task, he said, because he's a geologist. This was originally published on Seeker, and it's on Live Science by John Dyer. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.